The story about drug cartel figures in Mexico seems endless. One dies, and 1,000 more appear. After El Chapo, did you know there's another equally sensational figure? His nickname is El Mencho, and his head currently has a bounty of $30 million. The leader of this colossal criminal empire is one of the few cartel leaders who frequently eludes the police. So, who is he? Meet Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, also known as El Mencho. He was born on July 17, 1966, to a humble family in the city of Aguililla. During his childhood, he only attended school until the age of 10 and didn't even finish primary school. After dropping out, young El Mencho helped out on his family's avocado farm. A few years later, he got involved in the criminal world. He started by guarding marijuana fields and eventually became a drug courier in San Francisco. Because of his actions, he was arrested multiple times and spent several months in prison. Afterward, teenage El Mencho was deported back to Mexico. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in his life. Ironically, after returning to Mexico, this Michoacan-born man buried his past and took on a new profession, becoming a police officer. But is he really going from a drug courier to a cop? Unfortunately, his profession as a police officer didn't turn him into a law-abiding citizen. On the contrary, he eventually betrayed the police and joined the Milenio Cartel, one of the rivals of the Sinaloa Cartel during his time. Growing stronger, El Mencho eventually formed his own drug cartel. Its name, Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG. El Mencho's experience as a former police officer turned drug lord made him well-versed in avoiding capture by the police. This extended to his knowledge of weaponry. He was skilled in tactics, shooting techniques, and even trained his own subordinates. The arsenal of El Mencho's cartel was on par with a real army. How about his business? Like an octopus with its tentacles, this cartel's narcotics spread to 5 continents. Furthermore, this ruthless cartel was responsible for a massive influx of drugs into the United States. In 2020 alone, there were 93,000 overdose-related deaths due to opioids. Not only that, this guy had his own private army and thousands of thugs. It's no wonder his cartel became one of the most powerful criminal organizations to date. One thing that sets El Mencho apart from previous drug cartel bosses is his leadership style. Naturally, going from a cop to a drug lord would refine his leadership approach. While old-school drug lords had a leadership style reminiscent of Italian mafia, El Mencho's approach is more contemporary. During his time as a police officer, El Mencho frequently utilized social media and technology to track down criminals. He continued to employ these skills when he became a drug lord, using social media to announce his whereabouts and threaten his rivals. Don't be surprised to see acts of terror, including acts of violence and mutilation, unabashedly displayed to the world. What adds to the mystery is that whenever his subordinates carry out these actions, they cover their faces. Compared to other cartel bosses, El Mencho is like a ghost, extremely hard to trace, yet his illicit business continues. The enigma deepens because this father of 3 doesn't own a personal cell phone. He seems to exist in the shadows. No wonder the Drug Enforcement Administration of Mexico has placed El Mencho's name at the top of their most wanted list. The military and the police have attempted to capture El Mencho many times. And time again, these operations have failed. For instance, in 2015, when the elite forces of the Mexican Army and federal police planned to apprehend El Mencho, it was believed that this incredibly ruthless organization's leader was hiding on a farm. The military and police forces flew there in 2 military helicopters. Instead of success, they found El Mencho's cartel forces waiting in an armored truck. The attack led to 1 military helicopter being shot down. Not only that, at least 8 soldiers and 1 police officer lost their lives in the incident. To make matters worse, El Mencho ordered his forces to set vehicles, buses, gas stations, and even banks on fire. The goal was to disrupt the traffic flow throughout the state of Jalisco. And that's just one example. Recently, El Mencho's tactics have become even more sophisticated, especially when dealing with rivals. What kind of tactics are we talking about? Imagine this. El Mencho's forces assembling explosive devices. These devices are then mounted on drones and flown into enemy territory. Can you imagine how terrifying the warfare between these drug lords is? El Mencho's guiding principle is to die rather than be captured alive. His cartel followers share the same principle. This might be why the Mexican government finds it so challenging to capture El Mencho, akin to looking for a needle in a haystack. However, in mid-November 2021, El Mencho's wife, Rosalinda Gonzalez, was apprehended. In a cartel boasting over 5,000 members, El Mencho's wife is believed to have managed the finances. Fearing the terrifying drug gang led by El Mencho, the government is worried. What if the capture of his wife leads the 55-year-old man to retaliate unexpectedly? So, my friends, at least until mid-2023, El Mencho remains the most wanted drug lord by the Mexican government. His whereabouts remain undetected. Will El Mencho end up in prison just like El Chapo? We'll see. That was the story of one of the most sought-after cartel bosses in Mexico today. His criminal empire is sprawling. His cruelty knows no bounds. His cunning has allowed him to elude the military. In your opinion, who will successfully capture El Mencho and claim the $30 million reward? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you to those who have watched this video until the end. See you again.